Check, 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 check. Okay, I guess we can get chatting a little bit here just to get started. So, good morning, everyone. Hopefully, you all can hear me well. This is Matt Goins with the WiscWeb team, and today's little training, I guess, video overview is going to be just a little more information on Google Analytics, some other things that I want to encourage people to think about as we are, I guess, continuing on with encouraging folks to use Google Analytics to make some more informed decisions about the content of their site, about redesign ideas, about essentially where are you putting things, how are people getting through your site, things of that nature. Um, so that's the purpose of today. We'll I've got it scheduled similar to the other sessions that I've done so far. I've got it scheduled for 2 hours. It's likely that we won't take up the full 2 hours, but I'm hopeful that this information will at least be useful, insightful. Some of it might be review for some of you. Some of it might be new information for some of you. So I'm just hopeful that it is at least somewhat useful in moving forward with creating and delivering content to your audience. So again, purpose of this class or this training session is to kind of introduce a few more things that you should be thinking about looking at as you are using Google Analytics. I had said in the invitation that I sent out and in the event description that the assumption is that you already have Google Analytics set up. I don't want to rehash that conversation. If you are interested in learning how to set Google Analytics up for your site, I have a couple of resources for you. First, if you go out to my to our WISC website and you go underneath my training page, over here there's the user experience and accessibility training. These videos on here are all from a little over a year ago. I shouldn't say all of them. All these videos happened last spring, and the first three have to do specifically with Google Analytics, and they are the how to develop and measure website goals. The HEART framework is what that one introduces. The second one is actual Google Analytics, and basically this is the one that will kind of walk through some of the setup process, as well as some things that you should think about as you are building out Google Analytics. And then the third one is a little bit of a deeper dive into Google Analytics and a sort of more advanced look at some of the things that you can do with Google Analytics. And these three are out there to kind of walk through some of the things that may be of interest. And then underneath our knowledge base, kb.wis.edu/WiscWeb. If I just do a little search for Google Analytics, there is one here that's adding Google Analytics to your site. It kind of walks through the process. I want to reiterate, because this is a conversation that I have been having with a number of folks over the past few weeks who have started or have wanted to get back into using Google Analytics. This one right here is very important. I cannot encourage you enough to use a departmental Office 365 service account as the administrator or add it as an administrator account to your Google Analytics, because a lot of times people create the Google Analytics accounts and they create it and kind of leave or forget about it, or other people are assigned and no individual account is responsible for it, because a lot of people have been responsible for it in the past. And trying to get back at that data and trying to find that information is not easy if you don't have access to the account. Google's not just going to say, yeah, sure, here you go. And WiscWeb, we don't manage your Google Analytics accounts. We don't have any ability to add you to a Google Analytics account unless you have added us as an administrator. Please don't do that. And we don't have any way to specifically manage your analytics for you. So I just want to make sure that you all are aware of that fact. That important fact is to use a service account as an administrator or as the owner of the Google Analytics account, because that way, if people come, people go, that account still exists. You can always still log in as that account so long as you have access to it, and then give other people access or remove access from people if necessary as well. So I just wanted to point that one out. All right. So to kind of chat about what it is that we wanted to go through today, I'm going to bounce into the WiscWeb analytics and just chat a little bit about some of the things that you might want to have access to immediately upon logging in, and that is, how would you create a dashboard? So when you get into your Google Analytics, you'll land on the default dashboard. And there's a lot of information out here in regards to types of traffic, where that traffic is coming from. And there's some things out here that might not be relevant to you or might not be enough for what you are looking for. So one of the things that you can do is you can create your own dashboard. So if you go under customization and you go under dashboards, I've been tinkering around with this already, kind of trying to learn some of this stuff myself. But if you click create, it will bring you to a spot to start to build out your own dashboard. Now, there are a number of default dashboards that exist out there. There are also a number of gallery dashboards, so other people have created these dashboards and shared them. I'm just going to create a blank one here, but if you're interested in seeing what types of data, I know this was a question that went out to the group, to the WordPress community, the community of practice group, was what types of data are higher education sites looking for? And it's a difficult question because all of your audiences are different. Your goals, your purpose for your site, the delivery of your content, all that stuff is going to be different. So the analytics that you're looking for might not be the same across the board. So one of the things that I always encourage folks to do is to set some goals for what it is you want your website to do, and track those types of things with analytics. Do you want your registration page to get so many hits a month? Do you want your your contact page to be visited X% of the time? So those types of things you can actually look at and see whether or not they're working. And then once you can see whether or not they're working, you can move on from there and start to make some further decisions about the way that the content is set up and things of that nature. I thought about that immediately when that question went out, and it is a good question, because what is it that you should be looking for? And that's the difficult thing for anybody to really tell you, because it's up to you what people should be looking for. It's your content, it's your goals, it's the purpose of your website. So back to this. I'm just going to give this one a mat training board. We'll just call it that. I'm going to leave it as a blank canvas because I'm going to kind of walk through some of the things that you can create and add to your dashboard there. And then I'm going to click Create Dashboard. And the first thing that we are prompted for is adding a widget. Widgets are all of these things that appear on a dashboard. So I just bounced over to the it.wis.edu site to look at some of their particular stats. And you can see that these are all the widgets. These are all the things that are on the default dashboard for their particular site. So I have an option between standard, which is essentially over time, and then I have an option for real time, and I can get a real time look at what it is that my site is doing at the moment. So I could do a real time counter because I want to see how many people are here. I could have it show me active users, which is the default. It's only going to allow me to show real-time active users, people who are actually on my site. And I could add a further dimension if I wanted to. We'll kind of poke around at this as we go. But you can kind of see some of the various dimensions that you can choose from. If you care what browser they're using right now when they're visiting your site, if you want to see what page they're on right now when they are visiting your site. So maybe I'll look at that one. Where are they looking at right now? So once I have those in, I could click Save, and it will show me I have 3 people active on my site, and you can kind of see there's some at the error page, some at my training page. Bless your hearts for those of you who were at the training. Oh, nope, they're all gone now. But again, this is kind of the first thing is, okay, I want to see what's happening right now. I want to see what pages they're on, and I want to see how many are there. So first things first, all right, pretty cool. So then let's go ahead and click Add a Widget. And now let's do a standard, and I'm going to do a table because now I want to see let's see here. What is the value that I want to put in here? I don't think I want to do that. Metric is page views. I want that particular value. I don't know what dimension I want. Let's leave that as is right now. Again, the metric that I want is page views, because I want, essentially what this table that I want to build is, I want to view what pages are getting the most activity. I guess I could add a dimension of when I was looking this up, the one that they looked at, the one that they were demonstrating was you could view page views by excuse me, city or location, and I didn't particularly want to do that just yet. Yeah, let's go page. There we go. Page was what I was looking for. Page view. So I want to display what pages and how many page views they have. I could add further metrics if I want to right there. I can decrease or increase the rows there, and then once I have that in, I can click Save, and there we go. That's what I was looking for. So again, this is kind of one of the things that you see out on your default dashboard is active users and then the number of page views. So again, I want a quick look at which pages are most active. And again, this is that kind of thing where you start to look at what content is being visited the most, what content is most important to my audience. The WiscWeb site is not the most ideal site for this particular demonstration, because honestly, people are usually coming to our site and they're logging in, or they're coming to our site and they're going to one of the other, the knowledge base or something of that nature. Lately, obviously, this is a big one for us this past week, essentially. But the training page also gets a decent amount of hits. So, this is one way that I could do that. Let's see, let's add another widget. Maybe I want to, let's go with a pie chart. And let's add page views. And let's group it by day of week name. So what I want to do is I'm going to I want to see how many page views do I get each day. Essentially, I want to look at that metric, and I want to see which days is my site or are my pages most popular. So I can put that in there. I can show up to 5 slices. I can show up to 6 slices. Let's see, I could create a filter. I'm not going to create a filter just yet. I'm going to get rid of that just for now. And then click Save. It went down here. But now what I can do is I can start to drag this around and lay this out a little bit more. So you'll see here's the pie chart. Wednesdays are right now the most popular day for a WiscWeb, followed by it's pretty close to the other days of the week. I wonder why Wednesdays are more popular. But this is how you can you could do this by browser. You could do this. You could, again, you can do this in different types of metrics to kind of pull out some of the information about your audience that you might be looking for that type of information. But again, the dashboard helps bring up some of that information. Let's add one more widget to this, and let's do another real-time active users, but let's do a table, and let's add a dimension of page and a dimension of traffic type. And traffic type is, this will be how did people get to my page? So the traffic type is did they get there by searching? Did they get there by referral? Clicking on a link from another website. Was it direct? Did they directly come to wiscweb.wis.edu? So I'm interested in that. So I'll click Save. And so you can see, again, WiscWeb not the most ideal because I only have 3 active users, but at the moment I can get a good look right now of those 3, 2 are on the main page and they are direct. They came directly to wiscweb.wis.edu, and then the 403 error page, they also came there direct. The 403 error page is usually a bad link or page not found, things of that nature. So you can see, again, if you're into watching this, this is actually the kind of thing that you might want to, if you do like an email campaign, or if you do social media blasts or something of that nature. These type of real-time pieces are pretty interesting to sit there and look at, because it'll let you know whether or not what you're doing has actually worked. And it's both maddening, because I've sat there and watched the traffic and thought, what's happening? Or it's exhilarating. It's working. People are here. People are coming. So you can get a little bit of both extremes of that purpose right there. So. But again, there's a lot of things that you can put into a dashboard. I don't want to go too far down the road with this, mainly because I don't know enough to actually show you all of the various things that are out there. But just do a little bit of searching around. Take a look at some of these widgets that you could add that you might want to add some information on. A geomap of what city and maybe percentage of new sessions. How many new sessions do you get for particular cities? It's not really telling me a whole lot there. Mainly because this isn't the most ideal setup. So let's edit this. And let's see. Maybe I just want to see it by United States. So I'll select that region, save. It's a little bit better. But you can see you could start to really filter this down. I wonder if you can go by, nope, and still only by, not by state. That'd be pretty interesting. So I don't. Obviously, I've got Madison and the Wisconsin area will be the most prominent for me. So, yeah, I don't particularly like that widget. So that's a dashboard. It's saved. How you access the dashboards then is you just, again, once you're in, you land on dashboards, you go to the one that you want to view, and you can bring up that particular information right there. So that's dashboards. Just to kind of introduce that idea to everyone. I found it interesting just because the default dashboard isn't always the most ideal for what you might be looking for. So you might want to create another dashboard that is a little more relevant to what you guys are perhaps looking for. All right, so moving on from that, another thing that I thought would be of some interest to all of you would be, how do you track, so when someone comes to your site, how do you track what they're looking for within your site? How do you track these particular search terms that exist here? And I think that's pretty relevant because you want to know, you want to know what they're looking for, because if they can't find it easily within your menu, how do you start to move some of that content up on your pages to be able to show that stuff? So to actually turn on the ability for you to track these site search terms, you would have to go down to your admin area, and then over under the view settings, you would scroll down to site search settings and toggle it on. And then you have to add in the query parameter. And for us, and for most search functionalities, the query parameter is an S. It's an S for search. How you figure out what your query parameter is you just basically go in and you type in a term up here. And if you'll see right here, there's this question mark and then that value right there. That's the parameter value that we're looking for, S equals. So we just want the S because we want it to track anything that has that particular parameter right there. So that's how you actually turn it on and start to track that stuff. So then you'd have to make sure you save it. So that's how you toggle it on. And then to view it, I'm going to go back home. And then because this is something that your users are doing, you want to go under behavior, and then there's site search right there. And so I could do overview, but the two that I actually want to see is usage and search terms. So usage, if I click on that, this actually will give me a couple of things. One is it will tell me, or I guess one is it will show me how many sessions are happening during that time that I'm looking for. And then down below there, how many visits do I get without a site search and with a site search? So over the past week, we've had over 1,300 sessions, almost 600 new users coming to our site. The vast majority have not used a search there. 5 have. So to see what those search terms are that have been used, I'd click on search terms, and there you go. Weird search terms for a WiscWeb site. Not really sure about that one. This one I get, this one I get, this one I get. I don't know about that. I don't know about that. But this is how you can kind of see what some of those terms are that people might be using. And again, it helps you inform yourself about the content that people might be looking for within your site. what search pages show us? This might be where they are creating the searches from. I might have to look into that. For those of you who are using Tag Manager as well, this is also where you can get an overview of what your events are doing. So, you know, I track how often are particular links being clicked and how often are people leaving our site. So if I go under event action, I'm always curious how many people are coming to our site to just log in. And this is mainly out of curiosity from the standpoint of when we changed that the native domain mapping several months ago, and now you can log in via your site.wisc.edu/wp-admin instead of coming to us. So again, I'm just more curious as to how where people are coming from. And then KB link clicks are another thing that I track from an interest standpoint. I'm curious how many people are using knowledge-based articles out of our site. So, you know, over the last week we've had 43 clicks out to the knowledge base, which I think is, you know, it's decent. People are using our site to get there. And then these are just other external links that we've seen happen within our site. And then if I really wanted to dive in, I could start to see a little bit more of what we're getting at. So this is where you go to track all of your Tag Manager stuff. So we won't get into Tag Manager here. I'll set another sort of session for that. But this is where you go to actually track those types of things with your site. So good relevant information there. All right. So the other thing in regards to search is, from a standpoint of within your site, I think it's interesting to know what people are searching for when they get here. The other thing that you can do with Google Analytics, and this is a twofold thing because there's something you have to do with another service as well to make this work, is how do you track what people are searching for to get to your site? So what types of search queries are people using at Google, for example, that eventually get them to your site, that get them to your particular content? So it's twofold because you first have to configure the Google Search Console functionality, and then you have to apply the Google Search Console to Google Analytics so that you can start to track that information. So if I go out to our knowledge base, the first one is adding Google Search Console to your site. This part, it's easy, quote unquote easy. It just takes a few steps. It's not a difficult thing. Remember service accounts to create some of these things. But basically you'll go in, you'll do the URL prefix, you'll put in what your URL is, you'll get a code value that you want to grab, and we have the instructions here. You'll take that into your appearance and customize area, and then take that and come back to here to actually apply to verify that yes, you do exist. And Google Search Console just does a refresh. It helps Google essentially crawl your site, and there's another step in here as well. This is new for the plugin that we activated, which is the Google XML sitemap thing, adding that sitemap to the Search Console. Real quick, I want to bring something up here. I was going to create a knowledge base document for today to apply the Google Search Console to Google Analytics. but things obviously went awry. So I will bring up something here to hopefully walk through that process. To actually activate the Google Analytics function, you would let's see, go to Analytics, go to Acquisition, Search Console. That doesn't seem right. Let me go into Admin. I don't think it's View Settings. Sorry, this is one of those things I meant to have done for today. I didn't have it done for today. I'll have to send out a I'll have to send out a little follow-up to to how you set that up. There's a step there to link your Google Search Console to your Google Analytics, which essentially links your site to your Google Analytics from Google Search functionality. And then how you check that is you would go into Google Search Console under Acquisition, and you would go under Queries. And underneath Queries, these are the things that are being used by Google users to search for my site. So again, none of these seem to be all that shocking to me. WiscWeb obviously would be the first one. UW-Madison WordPress makes sense. WiscWeb, you can kind of see a lot of these things that exist there, and then we can see, impressions is the number of times this particular thing appeared in search results, and then the number of clicks. So this is the number of times people actually clicked on these links. So 33 impressions, 26 actual clicks is, that's pretty good for us. But again, this is one of those things where it is important for you to see what this information is that your audience is looking for, because of the fact that you want your content to actually be what it is that they are looking for. And so this will help you get an idea of what they're searching for. It'll help you get an idea of some of maybe the keywords that you want to start using in some of your content and on some of your pages. Again, help build out stronger content that is optimized for search engines from that standpoint. If we have some time at the end of, I should say if we have, I will come back around to this to try and walk through the process of setting up the analytics, but I will be creating a KB doc so that we can actually have something to walk you through that process. My apologies for that. I did mean to have that done for today, but it didn't get done for today. As always, if you guys have questions, go ahead and pop them into the chat down there. I hope you all are seeing everything. I think the quality is somewhat okay. It has bounced between blurry to not blurry in what I'm looking at, so hopefully it's visible. Okay, so that was using Google Search Console to track the search queries that get people to your site. Let's talk a little bit about how do you actually view the performance of your content. Essentially, how do you actually view, or what should you view to show what people are actually looking at when they're on your site, and what you should look at when you're looking at that particular data there. So to see what it is that they're actually doing when they get to your site, you'd want to go to Behavior on the left, Site Content, and then All Pages. So essentially what Site Content All Pages does is it brings up that table that we saw on the default dashboard. It is how many page views are you getting? So, how many pages are actually being viewed when people are here. The unique page views are, unique sessions. A unique page view is a user coming and looking at this at least once. So page views is important because are people actually looking at the content that exists on your pages? Moving on down the line there, this one right here is also important, average time on page, because what this does is it will inform you as to whether or not people are actually spending time on the page to read the content, or if they're not, they're just leaving that content. So you can take a look at this, and I can see, you know what, a minute and 23 on our main page, that's pretty good. People are spending time looking through our content, looking through the pages, or I'm sorry, looking through the navigation that we have and the information that we have out there. That's what we expect. Training, I don't know if that's good or bad. 52 seconds to pop onto the training page. My assumption is that they're looking for one of these two items down here at the bottom, which is either the upcoming classes or the upcoming open labs. Sure, it could take you less than a minute to look through that information. If it was in the 10-second range, I would maybe start to have some concerns there because that means they're not spending any time on the page. But that's one way to take a look at that information. And then the other one is bounce rate. And bounce rate is one that is it's important because what it's telling you is how many times did someone land on this page and then have no interaction with that page, meaning they didn't click on anything to go anywhere else within your site. They essentially left without any further interaction with your site. Excuse me, cough button. So this could be either concerning or it could meet your expectations. Now, I would say this is probably pretty high for our main page. I would rather people have some other interaction. The thing is, though, I do track the number of uses of the login link up here. So how often do people land on this page and click login? Because that will take people essentially away from here to another location, because the admin interface is it's considered outside of these analytics because you have to be logged in for the analytics to track. Analytics doesn't go into any logged in areas, so that would be one of the things that I would say, maybe that's right, but still seems pretty high to me. This one does not shock me because it is the error page. Somebody went to a lot of times you'll land on a particular error page. We see this a lot with sites that haven't launched yet, and you'll go and look at what your URL is, and your URL is a site that doesn't exist yet. You're still in your WiscWeb.wis.edu domain, and you haven't yet launched to your whatever.wis.edu domain. This will come up quite often. There are different reasons. The 403 error we've been seeing probably a lot lately because of the issues that we're having with our mod security stuff that we put into place. So this tick has ticked up probably quite a bit. Customer support form, not surprising there either. People come, fill out the form, and then they're done. They're gone from there. Same idea with training. A lot of people will land on training and not do much else. They will look for what they're looking for and then be done with that particular item. So the reason why I want to show you these is, again, informed decisions. If you have a page that you think is relatively informational and people are spending 10, 15 seconds on it instead of what you would probably consider to be a minute or more, you have to figure out why that content isn't meeting the need that they are looking for, or meeting the expectation that you have for when they are landing on that particular page. Um, Same idea with bounce rate. Maybe you have a page that is kind of like a hub page where it is meant to link people off to other locations within your site. Bounce rate shouldn't be that high for a page like that because people should be interacting with it. But if people aren't, they're just leaving. What's not working on that page? What is it that isn't actually happening for your audience? Is there just not enough information to tell them where to go when they land on that page? Are the links confusing? Are the links overwhelming? Is your navigation too much and they just leave? So those types of things help you make some informed decisions from that standpoint. And again, um, you can kind of look at a broad view of this, because I'm getting 1,200 page views, and 62% of that are leaving from there. Is that good? Is that bad? Again, know your content. For me, I'm not super concerned about that yet, because I know that there are reasons why people would leave our site instead of further going in because of just some of the content that we have. Um, but if your if your if your site was meant to have further interaction, um, that would be something that you'd want to take a look at. That type of comparison right there. We're actually going to get down into some other information. Landing pages is another thing that you might want to take a look at over here on the left. Where are people entering your site at? So again, looking down the line here, people are entering our site to our homepage. Our homepage obviously is going to be the most popular page because it's our front page. So people are going to land on wiscweb.wisc.edu. Again, the 403 error page is the second most. Oops, didn't mean to do that. Let me go back out to landing pages. Landing pages. Nope. How do we get away from this? There we go. So 403 error page, again, people are landing there just because of various reasons these days. Again, sites not found. That 127.0.0. Error message that everybody's been seeing lately when they've been trying to update content, that's been kicking this kind of stuff out as well. So that's all information that lands in there. This one moving up the line does not shock me either, because I've been sending this out via emails. It's now our primary way that we want to gather support information. So this being a primary landing page, not a surprise as well. Again, here's another one, a site not found. I'd want to take a look at that, and why is that? I might sit with Jonathan and figure out why is this so high on our landing pages list. So, but again, you can kind of see where are people coming into my site. Same idea with exit pages. Where are they leaving my site from? Are they getting to a particular page that you have created and then leaving your site from? Is this kind of like an endpoint page? Is it a page where you think, yes, that is somewhere where I think they should be leaving from? That kind of information is there. We're gonna expand on this a little bit more in a few minutes here, because there's a way for you to actually look at the flow of traffic through your site and some of the links that they click and things like that. So we'll get into that in a second. But to just take a quick look at it, you could go into site content and landing pages and exit pages. Where are they coming? Where are they landing on when they get to your site? Where are they leaving from when they are exiting your site? So those are two things that I think are probably relevant to, again, content decisions. Are things working? Are things not working? All right. Um, Another thing to touch on that I wanted to introduce was how to create and track goals within your site. This one's still a little bit confusing. I want to show you what some of the different types of goals are and why you might want to track them. But this might be something where it might require a little more conversation, a little more thought to decide on what those particular goals might be. So to actually view your goals and create new goals, you would go to, again, the admin area, the gear icon. And then under view, there are goals. I set a goal for its pages, screens per session. So I would want to say are how many pages are being viewed per session. I want it, and I'll show you how to set a threshold. There's a particular threshold that I want, and then this conversion here will tell me whether or not, or what those values are in there. And I'll show you where you can actually view, some of the success rates of those. So to create a new goal, you would just click Create Goal up there. You could create one from a template. Or you could create one that is custom. Template, there are a lot of templates out there, or preset values. Most of these are meant for types of sites that we don't particularly have within our service. We don't do revenue collection. We don't do charge sites. You have to go through the WAMs, through the web and mobile applications group. Um, Acquisition, you don't really create accounts through us, through your site. You're the only account creation is your WordPress account. Your audiences aren't doing that type of stuff. Um, Finishing a form might be something that you'd be interested in. A submission, how many times are forms particularly viewed, or I'm sorry, not viewed, but finished? Or a calendar, a particular calendar value might be something you want to look at. But I'm going to go ahead and do a custom and click continue. Let's just call it a goal for training. Let's do it something different there. Training page viewed. So down here are the types. The destination is this goal is met when a person gets to a particular destination. A duration is the goal is met after they have spent a particular amount of time at a particular location. This is the one that I have right now, which is I'm interested in how many pages people are viewing per session, um, or a particular event is being tracked. So again, if I wanted to have a goal of I want people to click a KB doc at least twice over a particular amount of time, I might want to track that goal. So I'm setting this to training page viewed, so I want it to be a particular destination, so I will click continue. When the destination equals, and I don't need to do anything other than grab this. It's all that they have to equal that particular page there. I could assign a value to it. I don't want to because it doesn't. That's not something that I'm going to do with this thing. Um, so I can test it by saying, what would it have over the last 7 days? Well, it's almost 3% conversion rate. People have viewed it, um, you know, that many times over the last 7 days. And I can save it, and then now I have that particular goal going as well. I'll just create one more just for the giggles. Back to custom, continue. Um, I'm curious. I'm going to cancel this. new goal. I want to test, since we're here together, I want to do submission. Click continue. Let's see. This isn't the right thing because we don't send people to a page. That probably won't work. If I used a notification, or I'm sorry, if I had a form submission and you clicked submit and you sent them to a confirmation page, that might be something that you would be able to track with a destination. So I might create a page that was, support form submitted, and on that page I'd have a bunch of information. I'd be able to track that via a destination as well. So that's not going to do it because we don't have that. When you click this, you get the standard confirmation page, which is thanks for submitting, etc. But something to think about there. I hadn't thought about that. So let's do mat training. Let's do page views per session again, just to show you how that one is set up. So I could click on that one there. So I have it set there. Page views per session. Click continue. I want, when a person comes to the site, I want them to view, at least 2 pages. And then I could click on verify. I would have a 13.46 conversion rate. Conversion rate means that this is what happened. 13% had viewed at least 2 pages. 4, verify that. You can see it goes down a little bit there. If I'm interested in at least 1 page, 31% of my audience has viewed at least 1 page. So again, just to kind of get an idea of what goals are, they allow you to kind of track things in a particular way. We'll leave it at 2 and save it. Nothing's recording yet because the goal was set now, and it will, get turned on later on. I'm sorry, it will start to track later on once the goal can start processing. So then to kind of look at what these goal conversion rates are. Oh, nope, not there. Conversions, goals, and then I can kind of see what those values are. So if I go conversions, goals, overview, I can see what those goal completion locations were, what the source of those goal completions were. Again, this one is just, I want page views. I want more than, I think I have that goal set to, I think it's 3 page views. 2. So my goal that I set up last week when I was getting ready for this was I wanted to have at least 2 pages per session. If I go back out, this is showing me that the completion was at the home page. So this is the second page that they're landing on. This is the second page, so on down the line. Let's see, what are goal URLs? The throw, this is kind of showing me where they're reaching the site from as part of my goals. So direct, again, as usual, Google second. So again, I just want to introduce you to goals. Like I said, it's something that I'm still learning a little bit about that I want to kind of expand on later on. But I think the idea of tracking certain things and using that as data to provide to audiences or powers that be about whether or not you're meeting certain goals. The form submission one is relatively interesting to me that I want to kind of poke at a little bit more. Many of us use forms. Many of us want to make sure that those forms are being used, and we want to make sure that they are converting. You might have some conditional logic in for some of those conversions where if they've selected a certain thing, so for our purposes, we have this one right here. We have the error report related to mod security. I might create a confirmation message or a confirmation page off of this one that I could start to use as an error or as a thing to track for this particular error function, because it would let us know that people are getting to that particular page and viewing that additional information. Again, viewing additional information is something that I'd want to use as a function of, it always comes back to, well, you didn't tell us about this. Well, I can see that we are seeing that 70% of our audience is landing on a page once they submit this particular error. So we are getting that information out there. So that's the kind of thing that goals might help you. Is it might just inform you that yes, that process is working, and yes, people are getting to this particular location. So there are other ways to do that as well, but goals are one of those ways to kind of set up that functionality as well. So goals, again, I think are interesting. I just don't know enough about them yet to move on beyond just how to create them and how to actually view where they are being tallied within here. All right. Last thing to touch on is introducing how to view the flow of traffic through your site through particular means of, where are they coming from, what is the path that they're going to, where are they leaving from, where are they landing, where are they leaving from, how do they get to where they're leaving from, that type of stuff. So this is something that's called a behavior flow. And how you access this is you go under behavior and you click on behavior flow. So behavior flow is going to be a bit confusing because it's this type of chart right here. But essentially what I can do is I can track starting from a particular location. So if I want to highlight this particular traffic, like where are they going through this process right here, I can click on this particular graph area and I can highlight the traffic through here. So it will minimize, or it will fade out everything else, and now I can just kind of focus in on, all right, people land on this particular page and then they go from there to they're landing on the 403 error page. Why is that happening? That's something that we need to take a look at. Training is next, getting started is in there, and the knowledge base. And then I can highlight the traffic from the knowledge base and I can start to look at this a little bit more. So they're starting on our home page, they get to our knowledge base page. Where do they go from here? Well, they're going back home. So the other thing that you can take a look at as you're starting to look at this information is what is the drop-off rate and what is the through traffic from here. So through traffic obviously is how much traffic is moving on from this point through the rest of my site. So if I look at this, the starting point, we have almost 12% is moving through to another page within our site. 88% are dropping off. Now again, that would be concerning, but know your content. That 88%, I'd have to start to look at, well, where are they clicking on when they leave here? What are they, what is the process of the links they're clicking on? I'd look at my events that I'm tracking, that login button up here. Again, technically when you click on this, it's taking you away from my site because it's taking you to the Shibboleth login screen. Or it's taking you into the dashboard area, the WP admin area. Analytics can't track that stuff. So analytics is going to read that as a drop off. So for me, seeing that information, I don't know if that's, it might be what I want. I want people to use the WiscWeb page as the conduit into your editing area. So it might not be that that bad of a thing. Your site, that would probably be a bad thing. Your site, you want people to move through. You want those numbers basically flipped. You would rather it be 88% through traffic, 12% drop off. You might want it less than that too, but there's that. I might want to take a look at the support form. So they start here, and then their next interactions are home, or there are a number of other. So I could click on the group details. Sorry, if I click on the other right here, the more pages part, if I click on that and go to group details, I can see, oh, here's where they're all going. So now they're going to layouts. They're going to other things. Curious about layouts being um, the thing that they're going to after they get to the support form. And then on down the line. So you can also change this to other types of functions. I'm going to just refresh this. And take a drink. Okay, sorry, had to take a drink. Okay. So I could change the dimension that I'm looking at right here. Maybe I want the medium. How are they actually, getting into here? So none, essentially what none would potentially be is direct. Um, but then organic is search. So maybe I want to highlight this and see where are they getting to if they're doing particular searches. And again, this comes back around to the Search Console stuff that we talked about with acquisition. Um, you can expand on that. You can kind of see how some of these things are interdependent of each other, where you might start to look at what your Search Console, what your search terms are that people are using at Google or at another search engine to access your site. And then that is where organic search comes into play. The medium is organic. And now you can see this is where they're landing when they get to those particular pages. And again, you can kind of highlight through that process. So they're starting with a search, they're getting to this particular page, where are they going as they go through this process? What other things for medium? Source medium. Again, you can see that was the direct. Um, so now I can look at, organic search. Google is the primary search function that people are using. Not surprising from that standpoint. There. uh, that's all in there. So I just want to introduce these things to you. I don't have the great amount of data that you all will probably have um, for looking at some of this stuff. Your sites probably get visited a ton more than the WiscWeb site does, which I'd hope so. But I just want to be able to show you like what you can do with some of this information right here. I do have. Let's see, one more thing to take a look at here. So if I do, let's see here, site content. So site content, landing pages. I have some other just random notes written down, so I'm trying to catch back up. I had some good steam going last week before Friday hit. So let's see. Landing pages. Click the comparison icon on the right. Let's see. Let's see. So, landing on landing pages. I'm clicking this comparison value right here, and then maybe pages per session. So, if their landing page is here, I'm getting almost 2 pages per session average there, so you can kind of see what some of the percentages are there. New users. So you can use this comparison icon over here to kind of start getting some more line graphs and to get a little bit more data as to what your landing pages are doing. I'm looking at landing pages specifically. I could look at exit pages too. So my site average is 1.72 pages per session for new users. This percentage value shows me that when they land on this page, I'm doing almost 4%. I'm doing 4.5% better than what my site average is. I'm doing worse. When they land on training, I'm doing much better. So people are, clicking on more pages per session when they're landing on the training site. So this will let you know which pages are performing well to move people through to other. So again, this is in relation to the behavior flow. You can take a look at this and see, well, are people actually moving through? How often or how much are they moving through to those pages? And again, I could go back to behavior flow, take a look at training as the landing page. It doesn't appear up here. So, and again, kind of take a look at that. It's not high enough. It has good conversion rate, but it's not a high enough landing page value for me to see in this particular view. You use the plus sign here to just kind of see a little bit more information there as well. So, all right. Any questions from the crowd? You guys have anything that you kind of want to touch on, or maybe have me muddle through to take a look at? Let's see. I'll just go into a few other things while you guys ask some questions in there. Some things that you guys might already know of. Audience overview. You can kind of get an idea about who your audience is and some information about them. So if I go to the audience overview tab right there, I can get an idea of returning visitors versus new visitors. We still average more new visitors to our site than returning visitors. This will give me some of the other averages. The top language, not surprising there, but you might see some other things in there as well. You can see some other demographic information. So maybe I want to see what cities my page is performing, or my site is performing well in. Again, Madison, not surprising there. The not set could be, could be coming from places that are not tracked or not allowed to be tracked within our process. Waukesha, Santa Clara. Okay. You can kind of see how that's going there. Let's see. I could do operating system, because that would tell me from a mobile standpoint how many users am I getting on a mobile view. So if it's high, I would want to make sure that my pages or my site is good for mobile audiences as well. What browsers people are using gives you a good idea of what you should be looking at yours in, just to test out some things. When we do theme updates, sometimes we find some issues that are cropping up. So this one here is a fun one, the Chrome one, just to give you guys a little bit of behind the scenes of things that we're still working on that are somewhat out of our control, that we're trying to get. The new Chrome version, Chrome 80, introduced some issues with our shibboleth process, where you might go to a particular page. It's most notable when you try to log in. You'll click login, you'll log in, it will bring you back to whatever page you were on and not have the black bar up there. You'd have to click login again to actually get into seeing the black bar and to seeing the dashboard area there. So that was something that was introduced with the Chrome 80 release. The thing is, other browsers have picked up some of that behavior that Chrome introduced in their release. So we're seeing some of those issues start to crop up a little bit more in these other browsers as well. Firefox being the next most highest used one there. So we need to work with our the folks who maintain the shibboleth process here on campus to try and put in some exceptions or some processes that will stop that from happening. It's finding time to meet with those people and then actually putting into place and testing out those things before we can actually get them into place for you guys to stop having that issue appear as well. So again, you can kind of look at the audience information, just some demographics and some general overview. Acquisition is interesting just from a standpoint of how are people getting to your site. This is a quick way to look at the overview of how people are getting to your site. Overwhelmingly for us, it will be direct. People either have us bookmarked or they just type in WiscWeb.wis.edu. The other is organic search, and we kind of looked at what Search Console does for me, so I could start to look at, the next highest is organic search. Search Console will help me take a look at what people are searching for when they get there. Looking at the behavior flow was one way for me to look at where are they going when they use a particular search functionality. Again, just allows you to take a look at what some of that information is in there. Behavior. We talked about events. Site speed is an interesting one. Site speed is something that I think people should probably take a look at, just from a standpoint of how long does your page take to load. So page timings, you can take a look at some of these. The average load time is 2.7 seconds for a page within our site. Is that good? Is that bad? I don't know. I know that this is bad, but I also know, and this is something else behind the scenes, this type of thing right here. I had Jonathan Dietering, who's one of our developers and is he's our Google Analytics expert on the team. We saw, if I went out to site speed and I did overview, there was one day that this value right here was in the 20 seconds range. Now, it wasn't actually 20 seconds for the vast majority of our audience, but we started to dig down into the country view, and now you start to see, somebody's trying to access from Taiwan. It's probably a bot or some sort of attempt at accessing our site that we don't want. But you can see that page timing right there is at 20.8 seconds. That 20.8 seconds is going to throw that value off right there, because of the fact that it is being hit often enough that it is throwing off this particular browser value right here. So in reality, Chrome is probably closer to this or less. But because this one country right here is hitting it so hard and is basically, it can't access it because of internet connection, firewall, VPN, number of other things that might be um, uh, occurring here. This is throwing off that particular value there. And again, I take a look at this, almost 2 seconds to load our homepage. You want it to be at a second or less. You want it to be fast. One of the things that we want to encourage people to take a look at when you start to look at your load speeds is take a look at the images that you're using. If you're using a very large image, it's taking longer to load that image, which increases that load time on your particular page. So, again, use the site speed as informational from a standpoint of how long are people having to wait before something actually shows up on the page for them to actually edit, or I'm sorry, not edit, but view the content. Any questions? Anybody out there have anything that they would like to ask? I will wait for several seconds while I click on something. I guess what I'll say is, if you don't have any questions, I know there's probably things that you want to do, or there's things that you want to track or take a look at via your analytics. I would really recommend coming back out to my training page here and looking under the user experience and accessibility training page over there on the right. These 3 videos are very good. This one is done by Adam Hilsmeyer from the Center for Digital Accessibility and User Experience. It talks a lot about not really analytics specifically, but more on the lines of, what is it that you want your website to do? What is it that you want to be able to measure? What types of goals should you be setting? How do you actually track those goals? And it's very informational. The next one down, it talks just basically about the things that you should be thinking about as you're viewing your analytics. Just some general ideas about why the analytics that you're looking at are important, and what types of analytics are more important than others. What types of things might be more important to you than to other individuals. And then the deeper dive just gets into more tracking of data, more informational things that you might want to take a look at, segmenting out data, so like creating segments of data based on particular date ranges or things of that nature, how to create reports, how to share those reports. So this is something that you would want to take a look at. And then, as always, if you have more questions, if you have more things that you would like to kind of take a look at with us, come on into an open lab. I would say if you're going to come into an open lab for specific reasons, drop me an email. There's my email address right there, matt.goins@wisc.edu. Drop me an email. Let me know that you're coming in and you want to talk about analytics, and I will make sure that I can get Jonathan or Adam available to chat with you during that time. Again, Jonathan is our expert on the team. He is Google Analytics certified. Adam is out of the Digital Accessibility and User Experience group. He is also Google Analytics certified. So they are very knowledgeable about analytics. Adam is very good about thinking about content strategy in relation to those analytics. Jonathan is excellent at just digging into the numbers, digging into the things that you're looking at, and you know, asking very specific questions. So, kind of think about those things. Think about some of the stuff that you might want to take a look at with your numbers, and we'll see what we can do to help you, um, I guess, use that information from that standpoint. If there are no questions, I will go ahead and mute myself, leave the stream up for a few more minutes, but we'll call it there. Thank you all for listening and watching. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to reach out to me. A brief segue into other information for those of you who are still listening. We're still working on the bot attack stuff. We are still working on our security stuff. We are trying to run some processes today that will begin to alleviate the issues that we're seeing with people not being able to update or edit pages. Security is a funny thing, and when we're trying to put new things into place, the default is lock down as much as you can, and we're trying to unlock a lot of that stuff so that you can do the things that you need to do. So I guess I just want to say thank you for your patience. It's been rough. I know it has. I had to cancel yesterday's training because we basically had a 6-hour meeting trying to work through a lot of the processes that we're trying to implement to improve the performance that we've seen over the last couple of days. The numbers look good from what we did yesterday. We're doing more today. We're hoping that everything will continue to shake out, and then we will start to fix some of the other issues with editing and form submissions and things of that nature that we've been seeing. So thank you all for your patience, your understanding, and dealing with this as we all kind of try to get through this together. So, but I'll leave it there. Thank you guys for attending. Don't hesitate to get in touch with me, and I'll talk to you all soon.